A death offering? The darkest secret behind Yu Menglong's murder. The world thought Yu Menglong's story had ended. His name, once synonymous with talent, charm, and quiet brilliance, became a haunting echo across social media, whispered through trembling voices and tearful live streams. But last night, everything changed again. A leaked internal report from one of China's most powerful investigative units dropped a phrase that froze millions: the death offering. The question that followed was chilling. Was Yu Menglong's death a sacrifice? It sounds impossible, right? But as evidence keeps surfacing, the picture grows darker than anyone dared to imagine. It began with a coded document found on an encrypted drive recovered from Yu Menglong's manager's confiscated laptop. One line, in Mandarin, burned through the nation's screens. He was promised to them an offering for silence. Within hours, investigators connected the file to a series of secret meetings between industry elites and shadowy financiers. These weren't just dinner meetings. According to security footage, the gatherings often took place in secluded mountain resorts, candlelit halls filled with ancient statues, incense smoke, and heavy, whispered words. Among those names mentioned in the leaked file, a handful of powerful entertainment moguls, one senior politician, and, shockingly, a retired film director who had worked with Yu Menglong in his early career. When questioned, a close friend of Yu Menglong's revealed something he had never dared to share. "You told me a month before his death that he felt trapped," he said. "They want something from me I can't give. They want my name to cleanse theirs."
I thought he meant a contract.
I didn't realize he was talking about his life. That single confession reignited public outrage. But what came next pushed the entire story into terrifying new territory. The offering ritual. During a deep forensic analysis of Yu Menglong's final hours, investigators found a strange pattern. His location data from his phone showed he had been taken to an isolated villa outside Hangzhou hours before his alleged accidental fall. The place, known locally as White Lotus Manor, had a reputation that made even officers uneasy. Years ago, villagers whispered that the manor was once home to a cult-like circle of elite businessmen who believed in energy transfer through sacrifice and symbolism. When the search team arrived there weeks ago, what they found inside defied belief. A private shrine, a table covered in red silk, dozens of candles melted into wax puddles, and most disturbing, a framed photo of Yu Menglong, surrounded by dried lotus petals and burned incense sticks. In one corner of the room, investigators discovered a golden bracelet engraved with the date of Yu Menglong's final public appearance, his last fan meet before his disappearance. The lead investigator reportedly stepped outside and vomited. The hidden witness. The story would have ended there, buried, silenced, forgotten, but an anonymous woman came forward 3 nights ago. Her video testimony leaked onto Chinese social media before it was swiftly deleted, but millions had already saved it. The woman, her face blurred, voice trembling, said, "They told him he was special, that his spirit would bless the empire of the screen. He didn't understand until it was too late. I saw them take him into that room. I heard chanting. I heard him scream." She went on to say that this ceremony was meant to protect several figures involved in a massive financial scandal threatening to expose corruption within the entertainment ministry. They called it a death offering, to wash away the sins of the living with the light of the pure. Yu Menglong's purity was their shield. The video was immediately censored, but within an hour, hashtags like #DeathOfferingTruth and #JusticeForYumenglong dominated the Chinese internet. The government's cybersecurity unit scrambled to remove every trace, but screenshots flooded Reddit, Twitter, and Telegram groups across Asia. A whisper from within. By dawn, even international outlets started digging deeper. A journalist from the Epic Star revealed she had received encrypted footage from a source inside the Ministry of Culture. The file, time-stamped just 2 days before Yu Menglong's death, showed a private conversation between 2 unidentified men in suits. One said coldly, "The offering has been arranged. The director will handle the message. Afterward, we'll make it look like an accident." The other nodded, replying, "His popularity makes him perfect. They'll cry for him and forget the rest." The video's authenticity is still being verified, but the tone, the setting, and the timing are impossible to dismiss. The manager's guilt. Remember Yu Menglong's manager? The man who first broke down during interrogation weeks ago? New reports confirm he's now in protective custody after allegedly confessing to being the bridge between Yu and the people behind the offering. He reportedly shouted during questioning, "I never knew they'd go that far. They said it was a contract cleansing, not death. He trusted me, and I led him there." Those words, captured in leaked footage, tore through online platforms, leaving fans heartbroken and enraged. The once trusted manager now sits under 24-hour watch, trembling under the weight of his own betrayal. The hidden code in the final scene. A team of fans known as the Lotus Hunters uncovered something haunting in Yu Menglong's last unreleased project, The Silent Frame. In one of the final raw takes before the film's cancellation, Yu is seen looking directly into the camera and whispering something under his breath. For weeks, no one could make out what he said, until an audio technician reversed and enhanced the sound. The words, "If they silence me, don't believe them." The director of that project has since disappeared. His home, according to local reports, has been sealed off by authorities. The nation trembles. As truth and myth collide, China stands divided, half mourning a fallen star, half fearing the machine that devoured him. Was Yu Menglong truly a death offering for the sins of the powerful? Or is this yet another layer of manipulation designed to distract from a deeper, even more sinister truth? International pressure is mounting. Human rights groups are demanding a transparent investigation. Fans worldwide continue lighting candles, forming massive online vigils under the tag #TheOfferingOfLight. But the most chilling part of all? A new anonymous message just surfaced online, claiming to be from one of the insiders behind the offering. It reads simply, "He was the first, but not the last." The mystery of Yu Menglong's death no longer feels like a case. It feels like a prophecy. A story of art, fame, and innocence consumed by an empire built on shadows. And as the world watches, one question burns brighter than ever. Who decides who must die to keep others alive? Because if Yu Menglong truly was an offering, then somewhere, someone is still collecting the reward. And the lights on that altar haven't gone out yet. The first report broke the silence. But what came next shattered the world's illusion completely. New, horrifying details have now emerged from inside White Lotus Manor, and they are far darker than anyone imagined. The truth about Yu Menglong's final hours isn't just disturbing, it's unthinkable. When authorities returned to the manor days after the original discovery, they weren't alone this time. A small team of forensic experts, accompanied by 2 undercover journalists, entered the site at dawn under a thick curtain of fog. The air smelled of dust, decay, and something metallic. The manor, once a symbol of power and wealth, had now become a tomb of secrets. Inside, every inch of the place felt wrong. The chandelier still hung above the dining hall, but the light bulbs had been replaced by candles, burned halfway down. On the walls were faded photographs of men in expensive suits, their faces blurred or scratched out. But it was what lay behind the manor's wooden altar that made the youngest investigator scream. Hidden behind a false panel was a secret room, lined with black curtains. At the center stood a chair, not just any chair, ritual seat carved from dark wood, inlaid with small pieces of jade shaped like lotus petals. On the floor, a chalk-like circle surrounded the chair, etched with symbols that no one could identify. But one symbol, a lotus with a single red eye drawn in its center, repeated over and over again. And on the table beside it, a blood-stained script. It was titled, The Offering Scene. Investigators quickly realized it was no ordinary script. It wasn't part of any film Yu Menglong had been cast in. The pages described a purification ceremony, where a chosen soul of purity would be returned to light through silence. The eerie part? The dialogue lines sounded almost identical to a deleted scene from Yu Menglong's final unreleased movie, The Silent Frame. One officer whispered, "Did they make him perform his own death?" The words hung in the air like poison. The secret footage. Later that night, one of the journalists, identified only as Lei, the same YouTuber whose deep dives had reignited the case, received a mysterious email from an untraceable address. It contained a single video file. The subject line read, "You're not ready for this." The footage, dated 2 nights before Yu Menglong's death, appeared to show a dimly lit room, the same setup as the ritual chamber at White Lotus Manor. In the center of the frame was Yu Menglong, sitting motionless on the carved chair. Around him stood 4 masked figures in dark robes, chanting words in a language that seemed ancient, rhythmic, and deliberate. At one point, Yu looked up. His voice cracked as he whispered, "I don't want to do this anymore." One of the masked men stepped forward, saying coldly, "It's not your choice anymore. You were chosen." Moments later, the camera flickered, and a blinding light engulfed the scene. The video cut off abruptly. Lei's video breakdown of that footage, before it was taken down, gained over 30 million views in a single night. People wept, others raged, and conspiracy theories spiraled out of control. But one thing became clear: this wasn't an accident. Yu Menglong's final moments were orchestrated. The vanishing evidence. As the footage went viral, authorities scrambled to suppress it. Within hours, Lei's channel vanished, her last words on her community post reading, "If anything happens to me, remember, they fear the truth." But digital footprints don't die easily. Copies of the footage were shared across Telegram, Reddit, and dark web forums. Dozens of independent analysts verified its metadata, confirming the location matched White Lotus Manor. And then came another twist. The sound engineer who had worked with Yu Menglong in his last project stepped forward with a revelation that left everyone speechless. Yu was terrified. He told me weeks before he died that he kept hearing the same phrase from his management: "One must fall so others can rise." He thought it was metaphorical. I guess it wasn't. That phrase, "One must fall so others can rise," was also found inscribed beneath the altar in the manor, carved deep into the stone in both English and Mandarin. The offering list. Days later, a whistleblower from within the investigation leaked a classified folder marked "Confidential, Project Phoenix." Inside were pages of financial documents, encrypted communications, and a chilling spreadsheet labeled "Offering Candidates." Yu Menglong's name was second on the list. Next to it, a date the day before his death. The other names? Redacted. But one could clearly see hints of initials, and a few recognizable ones matched prominent figures still active in the entertainment industry. The implication was horrifying. Yu wasn't the first and may not have been the last. The whistleblower claimed these offerings were part of a covert system of influence and loyalty among elites, each sacrifice, buying protection, silence, and control. They treat it like currency, the insider said. A life for a reputation. A death for an empire. The final audio. In what might be the most gut-wrenching piece of evidence yet, a newly recovered audio clip believed to have been recorded by Yu Menglong's own phone surfaced last night. The short recording captures his voice, shaky and quiet, saying, "If they find me, tell them I didn't agree. Tell them I fought." A faint noise follows, footsteps, whispering, then silence. The timestamp? 3 hours before his reported fall. Fans immediately flooded Weibo, YouTube, and X with messages of grief and fury. Candle emojis filled the comment sections under his old performances. The hashtag he fought back trended across Asia. What happens next? International agencies have now called for an independent inquiry into the death offering claims. Meanwhile, multiple insiders have reportedly fled the country, fearing retaliation. The Chinese government has not yet commented, but several documents and posts related to Yu Menglong's case have been mysteriously deleted overnight. Still, survivors, people who once worked with him, continue to come forward, adding new fragments to the puzzle. Each testimony makes it harder to deny what seems increasingly inevitable. Yu Menglong was targeted, manipulated, and offered to protect those whose names remain hidden. As one anonymous producer said chillingly in an encrypted interview, it wasn't about money or fame. It was about power. He was the price of their silence.